Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and friends. Here's your host, Russ McClellan.
Hey, good Saturday morning to you. Thanks for tuning in to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan. That's me and friends. And I have a very cool, very special guest. We've had him on the show once before, Setema Gali. How you doing, my friend?
Russ, it's great to be here. I'm so excited, and I'm doing fantastic today.
You know what, Setema, you've had an interesting career, and I don't want to rehash everything, but you know what I love about your story? And if anybody went through that lovely time in the world called the Great Recession, they better have some perseverance and some commitment and desire and persistence built into them, because it was a real radical adjustment. I know I was thinking I was all that in a bag of chips for a minute in my local hometown in Chelan County, in the middle of Washington State, but you were a little bit different than me. You were kind of on that world stage. And maybe you could just kind of refresh for people that don't know you, kind of what your history is and what you do, and then we can kind of dive into what I kind of would like to talk about in this land of COVID.
Yeah, you got it. So college ball, BYU, picked up by the Patriots, won a Super Bowl championship there with the Pats in 01-02. Short career, NFL not for long. So I come home with the Super Bowl ring, got a college degree, and I'm lost and confused. What do I do now? Like a lot of people, right? They hit a point where you're like, okay, I got to move on to the next chapter. What do I do? Jumped into the mortgage industry. Had a friend of mine doing mortgages, so jumped into that arena. 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8. When times were easy to make money, you could print money, real estate, mortgage, hard money, development, and we had properties all over the country. We had big teams. Money was amazing, and then it wasn't. 07, 08 happened, and we got crushed. We got obliterated, and financial Armageddon took place where we lost all our cars to repossession, every property we owned to foreclosure. I was so shocked, right? So shell-shocked. Got to the point where we were kicked out of our home, living in a tiny 900 square. So we go from like 6,000, 8,000 square foot homes to 900 square foot townhome, renting, late on rent. And I take my Super Bowl ring, which was the most valuable thing I had at the time. That, again, not a human life. And I sell that to get money to pay my bills and to try to keep us afloat. Ended up filing a bankruptcy 10 years ago, 2010, filed a bankruptcy. I drew the line in the sand. Very depressed, very overweight, very discouraged, very lost, right? Some would call it a crisis of faith. Some just, right? I just hit the bottom like a lot of people. And 10 years later, I live about 15 minutes from the beach down here in Southern California. I love the neighborhood we live in. I'm living my dream. I coach people for a living. I speak on stages for a living. I help people who are highly committed to get the results that they truly want to get. It could be the financial realm, could be the physical fitness realm, could be their relationships and their marriage. Bottom line is today I get to live my dream 10 years out of bankruptcy. And again, it didn't take me 10 years to get here, but over the last 10 years, it has taken me time to grow and become that person who knows how to deal with adversity. Happily married to my best friend, love of my life. We got 3 beautiful boys. I coach football, coach basketball, run a podcast, have some books, and man, I love life, man. And it is my mission. If someone said, hey, Setema, what's your mission? I'd simply say it is to help people unleash their human potential to maximize their performance so they can produce results that matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing story. You know, like you, I had a pretty good time. I didn't win a Super Bowl. I wasn't quite nearly as fast as I thought I was. They didn't think I was, but I had a great time playing all the sports, and I ended up doing a real estate career very similar. Had more money than I thought possible, at least from my hometown. And then about 10 years in October, bam, filed, right? Lost it all.
Yes.
Ended up sleeping on my couch in my office because I couldn't have a house and an office for a couple years. It was a wild time. But, like you said, I think one of the major things that I've learned about that is that I learned lessons I never would have learned. I learned lessons about myself, about my faith, about my family, about my, and most importantly, my kids. My kids were 15 and 10 when this all went down. So it was an interesting transition for them, as now my daughter's a doctor of audiology at 28. My son is a Marine. He'll be actually discharged in December. So, I mean, some very valuable lessons. But what I'm curious about, Setema, is as you and I, different but the same, very different people, very much the same in the way we look at things. I've read a lot of your stuff. I appreciate your podcasts. I think I'm excited one day to get that on the calendar. Your coaching and the things that you're doing for people at such a high level, it should be, really, I really commend you for that. And then now here we are, we're sitting in this crazy time. And I don't know about you, but I'm not quite seeing so many people getting so upset at everything there is, including getting down on themselves and really living their life through limiting beliefs. And I'm curious, why do you think, if you do, why do you think that so many people in today's world are victimizing themselves, or they feel like they're a victim? And also the blame game, it's always somebody else's fault, and they're very down on themselves. And, we run a team of about 60 agents in climbing and real estate now, and we're doing a lot of fun things, but, limiting beliefs are right there on top of it with almost everyone, it seems. What can you add to people that are listening to this that really, really feel like they're a victim and they're not lying to themselves in their own mind?
Yeah,
but they are.
So, I would just say, listen, I love the man named Jesus who said, "By their fruits ye shall know them." And I am really, really big on results or the fruits of one's life. So if someone's they hear the podcast or the call, or they read a blog post or see a video, and if you ever hear us talking about this victim mentality, it's easy to say, "Oh, that's not me." But you can tell a victim, again, a person has the victim mentality, right, where it's their mom's fault, their dad's fault, the neighborhood they grew up in is fault. It is the color of their skin's fault. It's the government's fault. It's the economy's fault. It's the neighbor down the street's fault. But whoever's fault, always blaming. The easiest thing is to say, look at your life. Do you love your life? And I'll tell you right now, most victims don't love people with victim mentality. They don't love their life, right? They're not producing. They're not out doing the required work. They're blaming. They're complaining, they're making excuses. Now, why would someone choose to stay there? Well, number one, I'll tell you three reasons. Number one, there's this thing called we call a perceptual functional constraint, right? It's a blind spot. They cannot see it. It's like you just can't see it. So you got this victim language, you have this victim mentality, and you cannot even see it. So you're blind to it. This is why coaching and listening to other people and having someone work in your life with you to help you, and really the phrase I say is to punch you in the face. Again, most people who are walking around living life, they think they're actually living at their maximum potential. They think they're actually really living at a high level, and I'm like, you're not. We live in the United States of America, the greatest country on the planet, where a person could come from a third world country, not speak English, and within handful of years or a decade, create a business that is producing 6, 7, 8, or 9 figures, living a life of freedom, a life of luxury, a life of service and contribution. So I can tell you right now, people who live that life, rarely will you find them with a mindset that is rooted in scarcity, where there's just not enough. And typically that's what it is. Right? So you got this blind spot, perceptual functional constraint. They're blind. They can't even see that they're a victim. But again, that's why you have coaches and people to help them see. Number two, you go and look at their results, and you can tell if they're doing what I call core action or surface confusion. Surface confusion is just like sawing sawdust. It is sharpening pencils. It is organizing your office. It is looking up the best massage guns and supplements and shoes. Like if you want to lose weight, people who are in this victim mentality, it's not their fault. It's their genes and genetics. And they'll actually convince themselves. They'll actually go look at massage guns and the right supplements and how much fish oils they should take. And they'll study macros and the research gyms to go to and yoga mats and apps. They'll never, ever walk into a gym, pick up a damn weight and lift, or they'll never hit the trail and get their heart accelerating. That's called surface confusion. People with the victim mentality, they've convinced themselves that they're actually doing the work. While people, what I call core action or necessary required action, NRAs, they're not the victim of why? Because they're doing what's necessary and required. And how do you know they're doing that? They produce the fruit, the results. So in the business world, they're producing money. They're producing clients. They're producing sales. They're producing this exchange where money's coming in because they're producing value. In the fitness world, they're producing like fat dropping off their body, a six-pack, a 5K, 10K, marathon. They're increasing their verticals, right? Their verts or their broad jumps. Like you can see their body composition's changing in a family. The results are they're happier, they're more connected, they're more present. A man will date his wife every week, non-negotiable. He will be present with his children. They'll have morning routines to build faith and chemistry in a home and culture. They'll have evening routines in my home. Again, we've got scripture, we got prayer. At night, we do highs and lows. We always share our highs of the day's lows, gratitude, kneel together as a family, pray. We read scriptures in the morning. We pray before. Like there's this culture in our home because I know what I want, which leads me to the third piece. People with victim mentalities, if you were to ask them, hey, what do you really want? They can't tell you. They can tell you what they don't want, and they can tell you why life sucks. But people who are not in that mindset, so right, the easy way to distinguish this is people with the victim mentality, they're simply living in scarcity. There's not enough. Fear and doubt drive the game because there's not enough. They look at life like, oh my gosh, if they win, I lose. People with this the abundant mentality, right? This comes from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. But that abundant mentality, they're rarely in scarcity, therefore rarely with the victim mentality because they know I am 100% responsible for my life. So I get to choose where I live, the schools my children go to, how I show up at work, the car I drive, the vacations I take, the contributions I make. I get to choose how my body looks and feels and performs. I get to choose. I am at choice. I am not a victim. I am 100% responsible. Now I can hear someone say, well, Setema, what about people who get cancer? That's great. Congratulations. That's called life. Or someone gets COVID. They didn't choose that. Well, they get to choose how they respond to whatever's happening to them, right? Victims react, but people who are powerful or these agents who really use their choice or their agency or their liberties, they just know, look, I'm not going to react like I have no power. I get to have the power to choose. So those are, for me, the three things that can really help someone distinguish. Do I love my life? Am I producing results? Am I doing the necessary required actions every day? Or am I glued to my phone, scrolling social media, wasting time, kind of getting by being average and mediocre?
Yeah. Hey, man, when we come back, that's amazing stuff. The difference between abundant mindset, scarcity mindset, it's in every one of us. We have to fight to get what we want. We can't just lay back and relax and take it as it comes. So when we come back, Setema, we're going to take a short break. I want to dive into what some of the things that people can do once they realize that they have the control that they didn't think they had. I appreciate you being on the air, calling in. As always, very generous with your time. And you're always about helping other people. So I admire that very much. We'll be back in just a few minutes with Home Sweet Home and Russ McClellan and friends.
Home Sweet Home. Thanks, Keller Williams. I love my dream home.
Hi, this is Russ McClellan, operating partner and designated broker of Keller Williams Realty, North Central Washington. Hey, thanks for tuning into our show each and every Saturday morning. I wanted to share the fact that we've been in business now about a year and a half. We have over 50 real estate agents, and there's a reason for that. Mainly, it's relationship and culture. You know, sometimes people definitely look at the money and the commissions and the splits, but at the end of the day, it's about relationships, trust, that familial connection that you have at Keller Williams. That's what we strive to do, and that's how we look at our clients. We now have offices in Brewster, Chelan, and Wenatchee. We have agents in Wenatchee and East Wenatchee and Cashmere and Leavenworth, Chelan, Brewster. Really having a good time. So if you're interested in learning about why is Keller Williams Realty growing as fast as we've grown and have as many agents that are focused on their clients as we do, give us a call at 509-888-0038. or just stop by and see us at 1111 North Mission Street right here in Wenatchee.